Hey, welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us today to discuss the new normal, how to help your dog adjust to change. Our presenter today is Cathy Madson. Cathy Madson became a certified dog trainer in 2008, but she likes to think that her career began when she was 6 years old and a stray wandered into her yard, becoming her first dog companion. Since then, she has never been without a dog at her side, currently sharing her life with two Cardigan Welsh Corgis. She is a certified professional dog trainer and certified behavior consultant in canine, as well as a fear-free certified professional. Cathy is a member of the Association of Professional Dog Trainers, a training professional member of the Pet Professional Guild, and a member of the Dog Writers Association of America. She is committed to helping humans and their pets build a strong relationship based on trust, clear communication, and the use of positive reinforcement training methods. Her previous work in companion dog training as an on-staff shelter trainer and experience managing a dog daycare has given her the opportunity to work on a variety of behavior issues. Cathy now focuses on expanding pet owner education and encouraging proactive training working at Preventive Vet. Her specialties include canine separation anxiety, leash reactivity, and dog aggression. We welcome Cathy.
Thank you, Carolyn, and thank you everyone for joining me today to talk about our new normal and how to help our dogs adjust to change. With the COVID-19 pandemic, we've all gone through some changes. And one thing that I really like seeing right now is so many people have welcomed new dogs into their life, adopting dogs right now when they have the time. To take them in and train them, as well as new puppies, what we've termed pandemic puppies. I myself brought home a pandemic puppy, but what a lot of trainers and veterinarians are worried about is a lot of these dogs are not really getting any opportunity to be alone, and that can create some separation anxiety. And so hopefully soon we'll be getting to the new normal when the pandemic restrictions start to ease. And we want to prepare our dogs to help set them up for success. And that's something that I'm so passionate about at Preventive Vet. We always talk about proactive and preventive training to help keep our dogs happy, healthy, and safe. So today we're going to talk about things that you can start doing right away to help your dogs get ready for the new change. And then also talk about how you can use these things all through life, because life is never going to stay the same forever. We're always going to have new normals popping up. So this new normal, right, top of mind right now is post-pandemic changes, right? We're going to hopefully be going back to the office. Our children might be going back to school rather than staying at home virtually. Our schedules are going to change. But like I mentioned, throughout life, there's going to be lots of changes. Things like adding a new family member, a new baby, or perhaps an elderly parent moving in, or even another pet, adding another dog or animal to the family as well. And then you also could lose a family member, and that can really change the dynamic for a lot of dogs and the routine for a lot of dogs. And that could be a pet that they might have spent their entire life with, or it could be a human family member that was the main family member in charge of taking care of them. And that can really cause a lot of anxiety and stress with that transition. There's also things like moving, right? You could be moving across town, cross country, and that is not only a routine change for our dogs and for us, but also an environmental change as well. And so that can really stack on top of the routine change your dog is trying to acclimate to. And then you also might, hopefully, after this pandemic's over, want to go on vacation when we can do that again. And that's a more temporary routine change, but it can still spike some anxiety for dogs. They don't know that we're going to be back in a week or 2 weeks. And so for them, it's still a big change that they have to go through and be able to cope with. And then you might get a new job, or you might have a schedule change at work, or hopefully you might get to retire. And for a lot of dogs, that's not going to be an awful routine change. Most of them love having us home all the time, but it's still a routine change for us and our dogs. And you might see some behaviors pop up with that. In my own life, in the last year, I've had a lot of routine changes and life changes with my dog, Suki. She's 10 and a half years old. 2 weeks ago, we added a new puppy, so new family member for us. You can see in the picture on the left, she wasn't too thrilled the first couple days. She's up on her safe space where she knows the puppy can't get her. And that's Fozzie Bear, her great nephew. She is definitely acclimating well. I've been doing some of the things that we're going to talk about later about how to help a dog adjust to the change. But almost a year ago, we also moved. And when we moved from a suburban area to an urban area. And that was an environmental change, a lot of new noises, a lot of new experiences in the city. And when we moved, we added 2 new family members to the household as well, one of them being an 8-year-old child. So that really messes with the routine for all of us, a lot more hustle and bustle. And for her, she really I had to walk her through the acclimation process. And it happened pretty quickly, fortunately, because I was trying to be proactive and really help her through and get her just settled into the new change that she'd been through. So when we talk about routine for dogs, I like to point out the difference between a routine and more of a structured day. So routines, just like for humans, they help dogs feel less anxious and less stressed. When we have healthy habits and we keep it in routine, we know what to expect next. So we know what's going to happen each day, and that gives us some stability. For dogs, it's the same in that they're not spending a lot of time and energy thinking about, where is my next meal coming from, right? Where am I going to sleep tonight that's safe and secure? Where are my people, right? They know what to expect because it's become a routine. But I've seen routines backfire for dogs where it can cause anxiety when we're very strict and rigid in our routine. So if we always do things at the same time and then something pops up, and in life, something always pops up, right? You might have to stay late at the office for work. You might get invited out for happy hour or dinner with friends, or your children might have an after-school event that you need to go to. And if your dog has always had this rigid routine and all of a sudden you're not there to feed them their meal when they expect their meal, that can really cause some anxiety and stress for those dogs. And I've seen it start to build into separation anxiety and more generalized anxiety because we've never taught them the coping skills and how to be flexible within their day. So instead, I think of it as you want to aim for a structured day where they get their meals around the same time, right? Or in the same order. So for example, with Suki, I wake up, we go for a quick walk, she gets her breakfast, and then we go for a longer walk, right? That's not always at the same time every day. And this is really helpful for when I might want to sleep in on the weekend and not have to get up. Like on the work days, she's not going to be up waiting at 6 a.m. saying, where's my meal? She'll sleep in with me, but then we go through the same structure in the morning. And what's important too in these daily structures is to provide enrichment for our dogs. And this is really important for preventing anxiety, especially as we're going through routine changes, giving our dogs a chance to be a dog and to exercise their natural dog instincts. So using puzzle toys or going on snifaris, right? Where the dog gets to sniff whatever they want to sniff as long as they want. It's less of a rigid walk. It's more of just an exploration with your dog and letting them work their nose, which is so important for dogs. So providing that enrichment throughout the daily structure helps our dogs stay calm and relaxed. So what we're going to talk about today, what you can start doing right away to get ready for any change in your life, is applicable to dogs both without separation anxiety and those with separation anxiety. A little bit later, I'll talk about the small differences that you'll want to really be aware of if your dog has separation anxiety. But these are the same exercises that I start my anxiety cases on, as well as if you have a new dog that you've gotten in this pandemic time and you're worried about them developing that anxiety when you go back to work or kids go back to school, these are the same exercises you're going to do for both, okay? So the first thing I really recommend is think about what your new normal routine will be and start to slowly adjust to that routine sooner rather than later, right? This is good for both us humans and for the dogs. So think about when you're going to wake up for work, to get ready for work, start to set your alarm maybe 15 minutes earlier than you do now, and then maybe 30 minutes earlier, then maybe an hour, to acclimate your dog to the new wake up time. And it helps readjust their sleep cycle. as well as ours, right? So you don't want to have that first day back to work, you're waking up a lot earlier than you're used to. You want to have that stress-free morning that you've practiced. And so practicing that new morning routine, figuring out how the timing is going to work, getting your dog used to that structure. And then also start to think about what the evening routine will be and maybe adjust what their dinner meal time will be and get them used to that new routine as well for later in the day. If you plan on having a dog walker start to come visit your dog midday while you're at work, or if you plan on going to dog daycare, taking your dog to daycare or to their pet sitter for like a private dog daycare, I really suggest connecting with them now, introducing your dog to the dog walker, letting them build that relationship and that bond, getting them used to the routine of someone's coming into the house, taking me out, bringing me back, and then leaving again, right? Practicing that now will really help your dog adjust, make sure that they're doing well with that routine. And especially with dog daycare, you want to make sure that your dog is going to do well in that environment, acclimate to that environment, and that they enjoy it. Rather than just first day back at work, dogs in daycare, you get a call, ooh, they're really stressed. You have to leave work and go pick them up. Starting now gives you a chance to really see how they're going to do and make sure that they're adjusting well. This is a big one, is practice leaving your dog alone. And this can be really hard right now because we're all at home, right, with our dogs. This is what we're used to. It's our normal. But if we're going to get ready for a new normal, we have to start teaching our dogs that being alone is pretty great, right? It's no big deal. It's just part of life. And if we start sooner rather than later, they'll have the time to adjust and become comfortable with that. So the first thing I suggest is really setting up your environment and your dog's environment for when they're going to be alone. I like to call this your dog's safe space. You can see my new puppy, Fozzie Bear, in his safe space. And this can be a crate or a exercise pen, puppy play pen. And you can see Fozzie's there as a crate and play pen together. He is house training and crate training, so I use those in conjunction. But if your dog is allowed more freedom and does well with more freedom, you can consider just using a separate room that's blocked off so that they can't get into things and chew up things if they get bored or anxious. So you want to make sure it's safe, dog-proofed, and comfortable for them. You want them to think of this as their safe space, their room that they go to. And safe spaces are really great for lots of behavior because, again, if there's a lot going on in the house, your dog knows, okay, I can go to this area and it's nice and calm. No one will really bug me here. And I'm just going to relax and settle down. So that's what we want the safe space to be. I like to have some noise masking by the safe space. So what this is, I use a fan and I just turn on the fan for some white noise. But some clients of mine will use a radio or a sound machine. They'll turn on classical music. But what's cool is there's some recent studies that show reggae music and soft rock music are also really good at relieving stress for dogs. So you can mix it up from the Mozart. You can play different stations for them. And what it's doing is it's really masking any outside noises that might startle your dog and cause anxiety or cause alert barking, right? And so that helps them stay in a relaxed state of mind where they're not constantly popping up whenever they hear a car door open outside or things like that. Another thing you might want to do it by your dog's safe space is plug in some calming dog pheromones. Adaptil is probably the most well-known. I have an Adaptil diffuser plugged in the same room as Fozzie's playpen. And what these do is they're a synthetic version of the same pheromone that a nursing mother dog emits when she's nursing her litter. And so it provides the olfactory sense of, okay, this is a safe and secure space. And there's some good studies that show, especially with puppies, it helps prevent some anxiety and relieve some stress for them. So that's an option. There's some travel sprays as well for the pheromones. One of the most important things, though, that you can set up for your dog's space when you're leaving them alone is a pet camera. So having a way to check in on your dog and see how they're doing while they're alone is going to help you in so many ways. So we need a camera in order to see any separation anxiety symptoms a dog might be exhibiting that you can't hear them, right? We can hear a dog barking when we leave, but we can't see them pacing. We can't see them panting. right? And so having a camera really gives us an idea of how are they doing? Are they showing these symptoms? And then what's the severity level? Are they just barking and whining for a couple minutes, and then do they settle down, go to sleep, work on a chew toy? Or are they barking the entire time we're gone, right? Are they trying to escape their little crate or playpen the entire time, or is it just for a couple seconds? That helps trainers and veterinarians really determine the severity level of any anxiety and helps determine the kind of behavior modification plan that you're going to do. It also helps you track progress in your training. So you can start to see, okay, this is getting better. They're not barking as long, right? Or they're doing so good for 5 minutes. Now I'm going to try it for 6 or 7 minutes at a time. I'm going to start extending the time I'm going to leave them alone. Without having a camera there, we wouldn't be able to really know how they're doing and then adjust our own training as we go. So 2 big words here, and this is the foundation of behavior modification for both prevention of separation anxiety and treatment of separation anxiety when it comes to the training aspect. Desensitization and counter conditioning. So desensitization is just helping your dog acclimate to things in their environment, so being left alone. We want them to think of it as a non-event. It's no big deal for our dogs, right? This is why we always recommend keeping your comings and goings really low key. We don't want to amp our dog up when we get back, because then they're anticipating that excitement and that arousal level when you walk through the door. And we don't want to make a big deal about it when we leave, because then they're going to be like, well, why are you worried? Why are you talking to me like this? Oh, you're going to be okay. It's okay, right? Nope. We want to keep it very simple, short and sweet, no big deal. Right? That's desensitization. We're slowly acclimating the dog to a new experience. Counter conditioning is paired with desensitization, but it's where we start to associate the experience of being alone with something great, right? So our leaving predicts good things happening for our dogs. So it's creating a positive emotional response to being alone. So we pair those 2 things together. And what I like to use is super special stuffed treat toys or licking mats, things that last a long time and provide reinforcement for a longer time than, say, if I was there having to give a treat, right? That only lasts for my dogs like a split second. So I want something that lasts a little bit longer, that they're working on, and burns some mental energy as well to kind of get them tired and relaxed. In these pictures, you can see Fozzie Bear has his licking mat, that orange mat on the left. I love these. Licking is a calming behavior for dogs. And so having a licking mat kind of helps their brain relax. If you have a chewer or a young puppy, these are supposed to be used under supervision. So make sure that they're not grabbing it, ripping it apart, starting to chew it or ingest it. But what I actually do with Fozzie is I stick it in a little baking pan and kind of suction it to the bottom so that he can't grab the edges and pull it out and start chewing on it. But for longer duration absences, I really like the Topple, which is the blue toy in the middle. I like these a lot because they have a large opening for the dogs at the top to lick out all the yummy stuff inside. It's a lot easier to start puppies on, or dogs who don't have experience with the more advanced stuffed toys like the Kong. It takes practice to learn how to lick out everything from a Kong. It's a little bit harder. The last thing I want for a dog is to get frustrated and give up on a stuffed treat toy. So I really recommend starting with an easier one like the Topple, and then moving up into the Kong as your dog gets better at it, or making the Kong really easy to de-stuff at first with just dry kibble that falls out, and then adding in some of the lickable things as they get better at emptying the Kong as you go. So when you start practicing leaving your dog alone, right, you want to start really small. And this is the key for desensitization, is you don't want to go too far too fast, because for a lot of dogs that will spin them up into anxiety, and that's the last thing we want. We want them to think no big deal. Okay, so we start really small. When I first started practicing alone time with Fozzie, we started with me just walking across the room, right? And then it was walking around the corner, and then walking down the stairs, closing the door, and then eventually down 3 stories. I live in a townhome, so I was able to go down to the kitchen, make lunch, come back, and he was still doing well. So I work in small increments of leaving him alone. As we go, we slowly increase that duration of being alone, and then also the distance I go, right? And we want to build those things up and build a strong foundation for our dogs so that we're not just leaving them alone for 2 hours with no practice and thinking, oh, they're going to be fine. Most dogs aren't fine, right? They're going to start wondering, okay, what's happening? When are you coming back? So we want to build them up to that. I like to use a cue, which is I'll be back, right? And then I give their stuffed treat toy, or I scatter some treats as we go, and then I leave, right? So that tells the dog, I'm about to leave, here's something awesome, right? And what I also love about using a cue, it's for human training, really, is it keeps me from making a big deal about me leaving, right? So it keeps me from being like, okay, I'm gonna go, you're gonna be fine, you be a good boy, you be good, right? And I'm sneaking towards the door as I do this. So this way it's just as simple. I'll be back, and then I give the toy and I leave. I'm gonna show you a video here of what this looks like with Fozzie as we go. And you can see it, I'll do a treat scatter. So if you don't have a stuffed treat toy, this is what that looked like. And then after that is with the Kong. So you can see this is his safe space and his crate. And then I have the noise masking ready as well. Go to crate. Good boy. I'll be back. I'll be back. So pretty simple. It just takes repetition. And this is for both puppies and adult dogs, right? It doesn't matter what age your dog is. It's never too late to start training. So start to practice some alone time with your dog sooner rather than later to help them get ready for any time that they might be left alone. And some of my clients have come back to me and said, okay, but really, Cathy, I am home all the time. Like, I work from home, I have my groceries delivered. The only time we leave is to go out on a walk together. So when am I going to practice leaving my dog alone? So you can set up training sessions like I do with Fozzie, where I'm planning ahead and I have the treat toys ready, and I practice these repetitions in small little slices throughout the day. I'm not actually leaving my house per se, but there's other real life opportunities that you can take advantage of to practice leaving your dog alone. So working in a different room throughout the day, right? Start with the door open, and then maybe start with the door and then go to the door closed, so that your dog gets used to not having access to you 24/7 and kind of learns how to entertain themselves. You can take a walk without your dog, which feels weird at first, but sometimes it's a nice break, especially for those of us who have dogs that might pull. It's kind of nice to just take a relaxing walk. You can also just go check the mailbox, take out the trash, other household chores where you're actually leaving the house. So adding in that step of walking out the door to the process. And what I really recommend doing is, as you start to practice your new routine, when you normally would be headed out to work or to take the children to school, get in your car and go run some errands, right? Go grocery shopping or take a drive, or even just park around the block, answer some work emails or play some Candy Crush, whatever it is, so that your dog gets used to that new morning routine where you're actually getting in your car and leaving, right? If you just walk out of the house and you're in your yard kind of waiting while your dog's alone, your dog knows you're there, right? They can probably hear you if you're making any noise, and they can smell you, right? So we want to add in the slices of the car turning on and the car driving away as you build up that duration. So a lot of what we talked about, like I said, you can use for both dogs with separation anxiety and without. But if your dog does have separation anxiety, you're going to want to just tweak a few things to make sure that you're really approaching it from a treatment protocol. And if you're not sure if your dog has separation anxiety, go check out the quiz on calmercanine.com. It's a free online quiz which walks you through the different kinds of symptoms of separation anxiety beyond just the barking and howling that a lot of people know about. But there's things like pacing, right? Destructive behavior, trying to escape their environment, or just sitting and watching out the window or waiting at the door. And then it walks you through the severity levels as well. So you can kind of start to evaluate where your dog is at. Or if your dog is less than likely to have separation anxiety, maybe it's just a puppy who's still house training, right? They will send you lots of great resources and follow-up tips on how to connect with your veterinarian, connect with a certified trainer, and then start a treatment plan if your dog does suffer from separation anxiety. And the behavior side of that is going to be focused on the counter conditioning and desensitization. The trainer is going to make sure that you're staying on a very systematic schedule with things and making sure you're not spiking anxiety so that you don't see any regression. But if your dog does have anxiety and you know that your schedule is going to change, be proactive about it, right? Talk to your veterinarian now. Talk to them about the treatment options like Calmer Canine, or in severe cases, Calmer Canine, behavior modification, and prescription medications all combined. Some cases are that bad. And it takes time for prescription medications to build up to a level where we're seeing the effects needed for the rest to really take hold, for the training to take hold. When I moved with Suki almost a year ago, I used Calmer Canine. She has mild separation anxiety, which is managed most of the time, but spikes whenever there's a routine. And so you can actually use Calmer Canine before the change to help keep your dog's brain at a nice level, and under threshold is what we call it, so that they're still able to learn and then respond really well to that counter conditioning and desensitization. And with Suki, I saw a much faster response after moving, when normally it would last a lot longer and it would take a lot more acclimation time to help her start to cope with the new environment. And that's her with her little Calmer Canine treatment. And then, like I mentioned, connect with a certified trainer sooner rather than later. They're going to help you figure out how to set up your environment and start the desensitization and counter conditioning in a way that's not going to spike your dog's anxiety, and then also help you track the progress as you go. And then again, provide enrichment for your dog. Give them a chance to be a dog. Give them mental exercises to burn the mental energy, and that really helps them start to relax, because they're not building up all that anxious energy. They're letting it out with puzzle toys or adventures with you and just being a dog. So start today as you get ready for the new normal, whatever that's going to be and whenever that's going to be. Start to adjust your routine, practice leaving your dog alone, and then be proactive about any anxiety treatment that you might need to start doing now. And we have lots of resources at preventivevet.com/separation anxiety that you can check out. There's some stuff there about how to set up a safe space, what should be in it, how to crate train, and lots of things about separation anxiety prevention and treatment. And then check out Calmer Canine as well. Check out that quiz. I've found it very helpful for clients of mine when they're trying to determine what's going on with their dog and their anxiety.